Hello, I'm Hal Lublin.
And I'm Mark Gagliardi.
Since the dawn of humanity, one issue has gone unsettled. With the fate of the world in the balance, we're here to settle, once and for all, front yard versus backyard.
That's right. Don't worry, everyone. We got this.
Podcasts should have a theme song. Podcasts should not have a theme song. Yes, they should. No, they shouldn't. They sound good. Yeah, but people are just going to skip past it. You know what? You're right. We got this.
Front yard
Versus backyard.
Mark, get off my lawn.
Hey, technically, this is my property right here. You think this is your property because your fence line goes over it, but really, this is mine.
Your apple tree is leaning over the fence line. You can't even talk.
I'm going to go get my
drunk.
chainsaw. You're always drunk, neighbor Hal.
I'm retired. Sue me.
All of your t-shirts mention something about you being retired. I know you're retired. You used to wear a tie every day, and since that day, you've only worn t-shirts that say something about retirement.
Oh, yeah, I got one that says, I'm retired and untied with the tie on it, but it's loose. It's not tied up.
No, I got it when I saw it. And can you please stop wearing your I'm retired, don't ask me for shirt out in public?
I can't help it. I don't want people asking me for
You know, my dad actually wears that shirt.
Of course he does. He's not retired, is he?
I know.
He wears it to work. He's a doctor.
Yeah, no. He keeps retiring and then coming. He'll be, I think the maximum he was ever retired was like 4 days.
Hey, Mark, I'm not retired anymore. Decide to go back to work. Mark.
Now, I'm very proud of him. He's crushing it now that he's in the Coast Guard. I told you this. He's taken it upon himself to get CPR certified every member of the Coast Guard in his region of the Panhandle.
Oh, he's certifying them. He's teaching them.
He's teaching them. He became a member of the auxiliary and then he decided he was going to be the one to teach them all and get them all certified.
Nice.
And did it for all of the Coast Guard in his area. Got a special commendation. So shout out to my pop.
Hey, Dr. Gags.
Yeah. So you know what? Don't ask him for
I won't. I promise.
or he will CPR you.
He'll
Is that a
retire
thing?
me.
Yeah. Ridiculous. I feel like we're going to talk a lot about our families and our parents and childhoods and growing up with this episode, Hal.
Sure.
Because we're talking today about front yards and backyards. Can I tell you, this is one of those binary choices that when I saw it online, thank you to the Lady Grantham for suggesting this.
Yes. Thank you, Lady Grantham. Ooh, thank you.
When I saw this online, I thought, how have we not done this yet?
Right.
This seems like a season 1, man.
It does feel like a season. It feels like
Right.
the first 6 months we would have done this, but we've not.
Front yard versus backyard. Tell me your yard experience growing up.
Boy, no yard as a kid. I mean, we had like front grass a little bit.
You were were you further in the city?
This is a row home in Northeast Philadelphia. So our backyard was a sloped in driveway, like a steep grade. So we had no real backyard to speak of that I remember. And then front yard, we had a little patio, and then there was a little grassy area. It was like steps down. It was patio, and then a level down was a little bit of grass, and the level down was the sidewalk. So you'd take steps down to each level, but it wasn't really like, we wouldn't really set much up in that area. It wasn't until we moved to Huntington Valley that we got a large backyard with a creek in it that had a 4-foot drop. So you had like a little bit less space, but also it felt like the whole woods was your backyard. And then the front yard was sort of like a sloped bit of grass. You wouldn't really do much on there. It just sort of existed to be a home for the tree that was growing there.
Yeah.
So where my dad lives now, where my parents moved before my mother passed, the house that they lived in, or have lived in since 2000, there is a front yard. There's a huge side yard / backyard.
They're like a corner lot, right?
Well, sort of, in that it's like, it's that curved thing. You could put another house there, but that land belongs to my dad. So it's a huge fence. Yeah, you've seen it. You've been to the house.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's my experience there. I feel like you had probably had more traditional front yard, backyard. Yeah.
We had, so where I lived, we moved when I was in high school. Most of my life, early life was in a neighborhood called Concord Hills, and we lived at the top of a hill. So our front yard was prohibitively steep. Like we had a pretty big front yard, but we had a side yard that was just like the lot, kind of like your dad's spot, the lot that could have been sold off as another parcel, but was just kind of a spot there that we had. That was where we had a swimming pool and a gazebo right there in the side yard, and where it was flat at the top of the hill. and then landscaping down the street facing side.
Okay.
And then our front yard was just grass and landscaping straight down because it was, I'm talking like a 45-degree angle.
Yep.
And then our backyard, this was the house I grew up in as a kid. Our backyard was a lot of decking. Like most of it was decking. So there wasn't a ton of yard in the backyard.
Oh, so two people without a ton of yard experience are going to decide between front yard, backyard.
When we moved, when I was in high school, we had a smaller house with a straight up old school front yard, backyard, like a little raised deck, but a full, grass yard in the back, grass yard in the front. So that was more of the traditional style.
Yeah.
But a lot of people have them. A lot of people love them. A lot of people live in the suburbs. A lot of people live in cities where there is space to have yards. I do not have a yard and have not in my entire adult life, really.
Yeah.
There was one place that I lived in a duplex with Jen back when we were doing Shiner years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a yard there, which was kind of one yard. It was a duplex. So when you're in a duplex, you don't get both yards. You get one of the two yards.
The one near Blacker?
Near where Blacker is now.
Where Craig and Carla lived.
Kakowski. Craig and Carla lived in the other half of the duplex, yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that did
so
have
we had a yard there.
A yard, yes. Yes, I've been there.
All right. How do you want to approach this topic? Do you want to figure out what our criteria are going to be? Do you want to weigh pros and cons of each?
This feels like a pros and cons because the criteria is like, I think when there's a ton of stuff and you're trying to narrow the cone or pass it through a funnel.
We've got two. I think we can just go pros and con.
What, you want to start in the front yard?
Yeah.
Or you want to start? Do you want to do pros and then do cons, or cons and then pros, or do you want to do front yard and then backyard?
Let's do front yard and then backyard.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got a big pro.
Let's start with the front yard before we jump into the pros and cons. Hal, get a little bit of the history. Of course, we got to have a little bit of a history.
History?
Yeah. A history of you didn't think there was going to be a history lesson with yards, did you?
When we had caves, they had land in front of them.
Yeah. Turns out the informal yards belonged to nobility and are as old as nobility. Backyards being giant swaths of land and gardens. Front yards frequently also just being gardens.
So we're talking like 10th century, 11th century, somewhere in there?
We're talking literally as far back as nobility goes. Specifically in Italy and Spain, they were the first to introduce front gardens.
Okay.
But in 1829, in New South Wales, Australia, there was a municipal code put into place that homes must be built 14 feet from the street, at least. So a house had to be built at least 14 feet back from the street to provide adequate garden space for the homeowner. That is the invention of the modern front yard that happened in New South Wales. Okay. It got picked up in the United States in the late 19th, early 20th century and, has been around ever since. The backyard, as we know it now, can you guess when the modern backyard first came about?
The 18th century.
Close.
Oh.
But no cigar. After World War II, the big move to the suburbs.
Really?
Nobody had backyards until the big move to the suburbs in the 1940s and 50s. And one of the big motivators to push people into homes with more and more elaborate backyards was the surplus that we had after World War II of aluminum and concrete. Before that, backyard pools were only for the ultra rich. But after World War II, we had this surplus of concrete and aluminum. And what did we turn them into? We turned them into swimming pools and grills. And that invented the modern notion of the backyard.
Wow. Had no idea.
There's a little bit of history of the front and backyard. So let's talk about the front yard. What do you think the pros of the front yard are?
The thing that pops out right away, and I'll expand this. The first thing I thought of was one of my favorite things to do this time of year. Maybe I will convince Jennifer to do it with me this weekend if we think people have their decorations up, is to drive west of here, like into Ventura County. And we follow like the Conejo Valley area out there. There's an Instagram account and they'll say, here are the houses that have their holiday decorations up. So you go at nighttime, you get in your pajamas, you get in the car and then you drive, put on the music. And then you drive to these different homes and you get to see them, how they've expressed themselves for the holidays. And it's everything from wildly imaginative and programmed music that you can make requests from a phone and a whole coordinated video show to just the most blow mold lit up things and inflatable Snoopies that could possibly fit in a yard and told with a narrative. And I'll expand that. So it's the 4th of July, the Christmas, the Halloween, Thanksgiving, in some cases, decorations. But the wider piece of that is the front of your home and your front yard is a chance for personal expression of what you like, what your design aesthetic is, and what you think is important during the holidays. And I love that. I love that as like a way to connect with both your neighbors and strangers alike.
I 100% agree with you. I don't even think it's exclusive to holidays. I love to just go down and it's fun to just walk through a neighborhood and see the architecture and the landscaping and the style that every individual place has, but definitely around the holidays. I love taking trips to the candy cane lanes. I hope whatever community you, person of the world, are in has a candy cane lane in your town. I encourage you to check it out. I always have a blast. There's like 3 or 4 of them in LA. There's like one in Woodland. You go to the one out in Woodland Hills, I assume.
There's one out this way. I've not been to that one. I've been to the one in El Segundo on which the movie Candy Cane Lane is based, the one with Eddie Murphy. That's actually, they actually shot it on the street, the actual cul-de-sac.
Oh, wow.
And it's written by someone who grew up there.
That's great.
Yes.
I very much enjoyed the ridiculousness
Where
of
are
that
the others?
movie. The others there's one up in Woodland Hills and there's one in Pasadena or Altadena. So there's at least 3 in Los Angeles and people go all out. There's a giant line around the block. It's going super slow. Oh, Torrance down by where Annie grew up. Torrance has a huge one as well that is multiple streets. Last year we got out and walked around. One thing I love about a candy cane lane is because everybody does it every year. It's fun to see when people decide I'm going to do something different this year and I'm going to do a theme.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because sometimes it's all a mishmash of Santas. Like you said, do you want something like well curated and technologically advanced or something that's just as many of the slapdash? You've collected them over the last 80 years. Fill your yard so you can't see any grass.
Holiday hoarder.
Some of my favorites I've seen recently. There was the Blue Christmas, which the entire house was lined in blue lights. And out in front, there was just a blue lined silhouette of Elvis. That was a delightful one.
Of course you like that.
I loved it. There was one house that had everything was just those amber Christmas lights, not the multicolored ones.
Yeah.
And along their garage in the front, there was like a fence garage thing in the front, had quotes from It's a Wonderful Life that were projected onto it and floating, and then scenes from It's a Wonderful Life playing on the big wall on the side of the house. That one I loved, but my favorite was I saw this one in Torrance, was a full replica of in the front yard of Dodger Stadium, complete with baseball players, the big welcome to Dodger Town sign, like all of the accessories of Dodger Stadium. They had done the whole thing in blue and white, and I loved it. Come on, man. It's elves playing for the Dodgers. Who doesn't want to see Elf Mookie Betts?
Anybody outside of LA?
Come on. Hey, World Series champions.
That's true. Can't be taken away.
Can't be taken away this time.
I tried. I petitioned the league. They wouldn't do it.
Sure. No, I know. Go Phillies, right?
No, I think they should withhold 98% of the trophy for 10 years. Anyway, I saw one.
What was your favorite of your themed ones or non-themed?
It was themed around the Santa Claus, but they were treating the death of Santa as a murder scene. So they had a bunch of cops there and it says, woo, woo. Like, yeah, I saw him. Doom, doom. He was just climbing up on the roof. He fell over. That guy killed him. And now he's Santa Claus because the curse of the claws must continue. Now I'm trying to remember my favorite one that I've seen there. I don't like, sometimes I like the coordinated shows. I have to like the music. And sometimes I don't like the music. Sometimes it's just like, oh, this is popular music. This is too many recent recordings for there's not enough Johnny Mathis playing here. I'm really old. If I want to have to tune it to an FM station. That's how I know. Like, and it comes through and it's like, like that is extent to it. I remember the first time I saw that, though, there was an electrician. I think it was the home of an electrician somewhere near the house in Philly. And they did a whole coordinated thing. And you'd pull up and it would go to like Trans-Siberian Orchestra or whatever. And
sure.
It just blew my mind. It was like, how do they make the lights and music happen at the same time? I can't even believe it.
There's someone standing out there, an elf all night, standing on a little Apple box at a DJ booth with a light board. And he's just got one headphone in and his fingers in boom, 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 boom. Yeah.
And they keep telling the elf, this is the last Christmas and then you'll be free.
They keep telling him that. Just give him a sock, man. Just give him a sock.
Yeah, he's in tattered rags.
Yeah.
But has headphones on.
Yeah, sell your Beats by Dre, man.
Sure.
Yeah, I do. Oh, I love those.
That's a huge pro. There's also a huge con, which is if you live on or near a busy street, you can't hang out on the front porch because you're just getting zoom, 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 zoom.
I live on Cahuenga Boulevard, which is so busy a street that it is an exit off multiple freeways.
Right. Yeah. You don't want a front yard on that street.
No. And I like my apartment building. It's, it's sort of U-shaped and has a front yard area with these two big trees. No one's ever just sitting out there in the front yard. You know what I mean? Even though we don't even have a backyard, it's, it's just, I don't want to sound like a bad community citizen, but
can't wait for you to sound like a bad community citizen.
I'm going to sound like a bad community citizen. The only way really that I'm going to spend time hanging out regularly in a front yard is if it's fenced in. You know what I mean? If it's got a fence to it.
Right.
Either via hedges, which there are a lot of in my neighborhood, or just a little picket fence. For whatever reason, it feels like a front yard to me feels like community space, whereas a backyard feels like private space.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. You do kind of want to measure privacy, especially like depending on the neighborhood you're in. Some neighborhoods are just private by nature. Yeah. Others, you at least want
I'm not saying
distance.
It's bad.
No. You just want some distance.
Yeah.
Like you don't want people hanging out in your yard unless you invite them in. It's your space.
Right. And that's like a front yard feels to me like for looking at. I'm not saying I want to have a fenced in front yard. I'm saying if I want to spend time just hanging out in the front yard, it's probably going to be in a front yard that's fenced in.
Right.
For privacy concerns, if it's a tall enough fence, that would be actually that yard that Jen and I had. We had a small fence around it and we actually put up taller bamboo attached to that lower chain link fence just to have a little bit of privacy in one area of our yard. Yeah, I think that if you have a dog, a fence is necessary so you can just open the gate and let them out without worrying about them running away.
Right.
Yeah, I think that a big pro of the front yard is decoration and expression. And a big con of the front yard is lack of privacy.
Yes, I agree with you. I think that's a good, we got the big pro, we got the big con. We're not going to discuss which outweighs which. Instead, let's take a break.
Before we take that break,
go ahead.
I want to add another big pro to that. The decoration, self-expression. A big pro of that is the community. You're not going to have the privacy, but you are going to have the community. If you know your neighbors, if you're in an area where you enjoy that kind of thing, sitting on the front porch is way more social than sitting on the back porch if it's just you. You know what I mean?
Yes. Well, let's take a break. While we do that, we'll walk into the house and out the back door so we can reach the backyard, and we'll talk about that. In the meantime,
stop at the fridge.
Maybe. In the meantime, listen to this.
Hello?
Hannah?
Yeah.
It's Clint McElroy. Hi, Hannah Reg.
Oh, my God. Hello.
I don't know if you know who I am.
I do. I love The Adventure Zone. It is probably my favorite D&D podcast.
You've been a faithful member of Maximum Fun since March of 2019, and this is them rewarding you as our Maximum Fun Member of the Month.
It's awesome. I love it.
So what made you decide to become a member of Max Fun?
You know, it was so long ago, I'm not sure what the exact moment where I decided was. I think I've kept it up intentionally because a lot of those different podcasts have been there for me when I felt really alone and sad and just needed something to laugh at.
Oh, well, that's Hannah. Thank you so much. Thanks for being a member. Thanks for being a Taz fan. Thanks for all the nice things you had to say about me specifically And I guess my kids, I get indirectly.
If you're a Max Fun member, you can become the next Max Fun member of the month. Support us at MaximumFun.org/join.
Jackie Cation, hi, and welcome to the MaximumFun.org podcast, The Jackie and Laurie Show, where we talk about stand-up comedy and how much we love it and how much it enrages us.
We have a lot of experience and a lot of stories and a lot of time on our hands. So check us out. It's 1 hour a week, and we drop it every Wednesday on MaximumFun.org.
All right. We've reached the backyard.
Listen to this. This is just so abrupt.
Yeah, I want them to listen to it. I hope you listened.
I hope you listened. You didn't.
Maybe
you didn't hit that little 30 that's
seconds.
circled with an arrow, did you? Did you hit the little 30 that's circled with an arrow?
Sometimes I listen to podcasts like a little bit quicker speed, so everything is pitched up. Do you ever do that?
I listen to most podcasts at 1.5 speed.
All right,
which is maybe why I talk too fast on this show.
Can I do something for everybody who listens to this sped up?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. We're going to go to the backyard. We're going to go talk about things in the backyard, both pros and cons. All right, what do you think? You want to try to do?
I think that. All right, let's take a look at the backyard. Pros and cons. Pro of a backyard, it's where all the stuff is, man. It's the social center of the house. If you have the means, God bless. If you don't and only have the means for a couple of chairs and an umbrella, great. But that's regardless of how elaborate your backyard setup is. Nobody has a front yard barbecue. You have a backyard barbecue. You throw a pool party in the backyard. Everything social within your circle, within the community of the home, happens in that backyard.
Yeah. Yeah, it's generally, I mean, there are front yard like swing sets and stuff, but the good playground stuff, like the good stuff that I had, that was in the backyard. That's where
it's where you go to play.
That's backyard, where you go to play. Sponsored by Pachanga, where you also go to play, but a different play. For grown-ups, no kids allowed. Do you know you can smoke in there? You can. You're not going to be ready for it when you walk in. Want to go back to the 90s, but with 2024 games? Go to a casino. Pachanga.
But still want to also go to 90s games? Go to the arcade in the casino at Pachanga.
Do you want decent Asian food, but also a migraine? Go to Pachanga. You won't be able to make it into the restaurant without smelling that stale tobacco smell. The smell of a businessman on the road with a loosened collar and tie and mussed hair, wondering what were all the choices he made in life that led him up to this very moment, and wishing he could go to sleep and wake up as a different guy. Pachanga!
Pachanga! Divorcee capital of Southern California.
Where the clothes don't fit. Pachanga.
All right. Yeah, you've got your playing stuff. You got privacy. You've also got utilitarian stuff in a backyard. Not a lot of people are going to put that prefab shed with all of the gardening tools and et cetera in the front yard.
Right.
That's going to be a backyard thing.
Your storage.
Yeah.
Lawn games.
Are there cons of a backyard? What are the cons of a backyard?
I mean, if you share... Well, I guess it's the same for a front yard, right? If there's no fence to the neighbors, sometimes you got to look at somebody else's backyard. And you might not like their backyard might not be as nice as yours.
I mean, the grass. So the grass is always greener.
It's like, I wish Steve wouldn't walk out there with his nuts hanging out and sit in a lawn chair. Like, I understand this is his property, but we have to look at it, and I have toddlers.
You know what? I was just thinking of that, but from Steve's point of view, one downside of the backyard, you may think you have more privacy than you do have.
Oh yeah.
A front yard, you know that everyone in the world can see you. So you're going to be on your most sociable and at least partly dressed behavior. In the backyard, you can forget that, somebody across the way, somebody else's backyard from the next street over looks into yours. You're not thinking about that when it's 2 a.m. and you've had a couple and you think, skinny dipping's a great idea.
I know people who have like a backyard, like an outdoor backyard shower.
Mm-hmm.
I always, when I do that, I stand near it and I just sort of look around and go what are the angles? How tall is the house next door? Like who
like you're in the
see?
Secret Service?
Yeah, and people who have that generally are like, yeah, I love to come out here. I take a shower and then I go in and get dressed. And I'm like, hold on. We progressed as a species to the point where we get to take our showers indoors. We don't have to take them indoors. We get to. We get to have 4 walls and a ceiling and a floor.
I don't need a wooden door with a moon on it to go outside and use plumbing.
Yeah. I don't want to go to the secret garden to wash my nether regions.
Yeah.
Not interested in it.
It's tough because I don't think of any downside. Maybe it's because I don't have a backyard and I would like a backyard that there in my mind are no downsides to a backyard.
Yeah. It's where the grill is.
Maybe the privacy is where burglars can come in.
They can come in.
No burglar's going to enter through the front.
No, a lot of them do enter through the front. Why do they want to go around the back to try and get it? That's a lot of work.
I don't know, man. I'm thinking of like cartoon versions of burglars.
Oh, when they have the striped shirts?
Striped shirt, little mask, ladder. Yeah.
Yeah. Gloves and a ski hat.
Look, man, I guess what it comes down to is if we really want to take a look at broadening things out so we have a fighting chance for the front yard, then we would have to look at it not as specifically front yard versus backyard, because the backyard has so many things. There's so many, you can fill a backyard with so much stuff. I think the pros, I can't really think of very many cons. The pros are as such that the best version of a backyard is always going to be more equipped for joy than the best version of a front yard. But the beauty of a front yard is expressiveness and showing yourself outwardly, artistic expression, decorative expression to the community. So I guess if we're looking broadly, then the question is, which holds more value? The apex of self-expression on your block that you can do versus the most insular fun that you can have. One is I'm holding on to my stuff and having a great time with my stuff. The other is I'm sharing with the world.
Do you want a contradictory statement?
Yes.
I would love to have a single family home that I could decorate for the holidays. Like that's a dream to put everything out, but not for anybody else, just for me. I want to be able to look at it and smile and enjoy. I don't want to shield anybody from it, but like I'm not doing it so that other people know. First of all, those people would be like, that guy grew up with Christmas. Jewish, still Jewish, proudly Jewish, just love the decorations. And, I have a wife who is Presbyterian, so we get to enjoy both sets of goodies. And I love the decoration. It's just makes me happy. It's my comfort place. I've had my tree up for a couple weeks now. Makes me happy to look at it. Every night it gets lit up. No matter which of us, if we're both down there watching TV, if one of us is down there watching TV, that's like number one. Before the TV goes on, we have to turn the tree on and get it going. So I like that for me. A backyard would be really cool to have, like a barbecue place. I would like to entertain there. I don't need a front yard to entertain. I need a backyard to entertain if I want to do it outside. I'm not entertaining the whole yard. I'm not the house. Like one of the ones we encountered on one of our tours last year where they have a Santa who comes in and the local fire engine comes in and they raise money for charity. It's great. It's awesome. It was a really neat event to see all the people in the neighborhood over there. I love that. That wouldn't necessarily be me. Like I like contributing to my community. I don't want them in my house because I might change my mind on what I want to do. I want to go do something else. But then I'm entertaining. And I got to switch into like glad handing mode for however many hours that everybody's there. So that wouldn't be me as much. I would rather have the backyard where I could have a bunch of friends over than have a front yard so I could show off how much I like the holidays. How do you feel?
Yeah. I agree. Like I'm a person who enjoys entertaining. I wish we could do more of it here. And you and I are in the business of self-expression. So we have lots of varied outlets for it. But even if you don't, I don't know that a yard is the only version of self-expression. You know what I mean? Like, if the beauty of a front yard is for decorative purposes, you can do that on the building itself. You don't need the yard necessarily to do a competent job of decorating for any holiday or for whatever way you want it. All you need is a window.
You're right.
But a backyard to entertain at that level, I think you really do need a backyard. I mean, think of Los Angeles where we are. Most of the front yards you see are just a lawn and very well decorated around the holidays, especially on these candy cane lanes. But a backyard, if we're putting the best version of a front yard against the best version of a backyard, the best version of a backyard that I've seen in this town is mind-blowing, some of the stuff that you can find. And so going from the biggest, broadest, fanciest version to the smallest version, I think a backyard is going to have, regardless of size, the best version of a backyard is going to beat the best version of a front yard, whether it's large or tiny.
Yeah, people of the world, we talked about pros and cons. And for Mark, the biggest con of a backyard is the ex-con who's going to sneak in and fill that bag with a $sign on it with all of his stuff. So, hey, you know what? Out there, you thieves, you old school robbers, you stay away from my friend Mark's house. Because you deal with him, you got to deal with me.
Yeah.
And I don't want you over at my house.
Yeah, no,
not interested. I'm not running a holiday charity here. I donate to charity. I don't hold
amazing.
Them. Thank you. Thank you very much. You like how I set it up as a giant citadel wall that nobody can come in front of?
Yeah.
But you can see the hints of light behind it. It's just everything about it says, we love the holidays and please don't knock on the door.
I love the idea that you would have a house completely covered in Christmas decorations, a yard with reindeer and snow globes and branded content and original characters, all kinds of delightful things. But then you would wall up the front of it like you would just build a giant brick wall like you're Grover trying to prevent someone from turning a page and prevent anyone from seeing anything that is happening in this. Like if you want to get through that, if you want to see what the Kelly Lublin family has done for the holidays, you're going to have to know people. You're going to have to know secrets. You're going to have to know people. You're going to have to bring an army to get past this moat.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're 100% right. We're going to have Santa there, but he's going to be saying, go ho, ho away. People of the world, whatever yard you have is beautiful, and I hope you use it to your greatest enjoyment. But if we're talking about front yard versus backyard, it's backyard by a country mile. Asked and answered.
Some of these are not close.
Yeah, some of them aren't close.
Yeah.
Go back to the Twizzlers and Red Vines episode if you don't believe me.
Yeah. But it's still fun to talk about backyards, Hal.
It is. Always.
You know what? Before we go, I know that we've wrapped it up and decided the backyard. Describe to me your perfect backyard.
Backyard. I want a pool and a hot tub in there.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like a nice sort of, I'd like one of those like grills that's built into like a countertop area that people can sit around. So it's like a social thing.
Yeah.
I want a fire pit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like enough room for like, you know, to throw a ball around or to play wiffle ball or do whatever. I want a sizable backyard. What about you? What do you have back in that backyard?
I love that. I would love, give me the green space. Starting at the edge of the property. I want a big green space with enough room to run around, throw a ball, play any outdoor game I could imagine. Then I want a deck with either multiple tables or one big, like 10 top table so I could host dinners outside, throw some Edison bulbs above that. Off to one side, I want that swimming pool and that hot tub. Yeah. And then, definitely an area with a screen and a projector.
Nice.
A few couches, right?
Put it in front of the pool, inflatable one, and then you can do movie night in the pool.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I want the whole thing going back to that edge of the property. I'd want to make sure there is a backyard fence there, not to keep my neighbors out, but at least a low slung fence because there'll be a cliff there that overlooks the sea. Because I didn't mention that I'm also right out on the water.
I thought you were going to say it's not to keep my neighbors out. It's to keep my prisoners in. Lights out at 9.
Yeah.
Scumbags.
Yeah. Ho, ho, ho. No, I want that cheerier, Santa. It's a Christmas party.
I want to go home. Asked and answered.
Yeah, asked and answered. It's the backyard. Thank you to the Lady Grantham for this topic. This topic is closed, but there are many more topics to discuss. So please reach out to us via email at wegotThisPodcast@gmail.com or
find us on the social media. We are at We Got This Podcast on TikTok and also Blue Sky. Come visit us on Blue Sky. We're doing a lot of fun stuff over there, and we would love for you to be a part of it. And also, at We Got This Show on Instagram, but the Facebook group is really the hub where it all goes down. Facebook.com/group/We Got This Podcast. Thank you to producer Ken Plume, researcher Kevin McManus, graphic designer Uri Kelman, and QA engineer Jen Alba. You're all invited to the backyard.
That's right. And thanks, of course, to our musicians, Jonathan Dinerstein and Mike Furman, for our score and theme song, respectively. You're invited to the backyard, and I promise we won't make you play music the whole time, though we will have live music in this particular dream backyard. If you want to jump in for a set and play a song, to be like, oh my gosh, we're so honored to have Jonathan and Mike are here. We would love to have them play with you. The band that's doing that, by the way, is One Republic, who's playing the backyard party.
Sure, of course.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh no. I forgot I've got the next one. And of course, you know who else is coming to this backyard party. You, the people of the world, who give us a chance to sit here and not only talk about movies and TV shows and foods and things that we love, but sometimes to just sit and daydream about a perfect backyard. I want you all here. Jump on in, people of the world. We're all getting in the pool and then we're playing a movie on the big projector. It's going to be a blast. Come on over. And until then, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. For Hal Lublin, I'm Mark Gagliardi.
For Mark Gagliardi, I'm Hal Lublin. And don't worry, everybody. We got this.
We got this.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows
supported
directly by you.